So wait, what episode is this?
I don't know anymore. 29 or 30.
This is 30.
I think it's 30.
30, yeah. So we made 3 sets of 10.
3 set.
3 sets of 10. We hit a milestone. Every 10 is a milestone.
I can't believe we got this far.
It'd be pretty cool to get to 100 though, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, yesterday's game was pretty good. Obviously, it could have been warmer, but I felt like it showed a lot for both teams because we were out there in the cold, freezing. Well, it was the wind, really. But everybody, I felt like, was still trying.
You better tell the audience the background. Are we on?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we're on. Right,
Sorry.
Mike? We're on. Yeah.
It's 34 degrees with 20-degree wind chills.
20-degree wind
That's
chills.
that's our director and producer saying that, and he was out there scorekeeping for Joe's team, and it was so cold. And I've been doing this for a long time, and that's like the third or fourth. That it wasn't worse, but it wasn't better. It was like the coldest I've ever been.
Yeah.
And there was 3 other parks that were just as cold, but that was terrible.
And it wasn't that.
So, but the question is,
It wasn't that it was too cold temperature-wise, but when you add that wind chill in there.
Oh my God.
Holy shit. I had thermal socks on, gloves on. Mikey had no gloves.
No.
Keeping score.
I'm surprised. Mikey usually has shorts on.
And those kids are out on the field. They have a lot less on.
Yeah.
At least they're moving somewhat. But you
Did
got to
you
remember
see-
it is baseball.
Yeah, they were balling up in the
Yeah.
and
Especially the outfielders.
yeah, they were balling up in the dugout. They were just like they had a human pile there. I can't really blame them. You can't say anything about it
Mhm.
because it's not baseball weather. So the question is, why did we play? There was twofold reasons. One, your brother, who's the head coach, or you guys are co-coaches, whatever.
Mhm.
That was his first game, and you get tired of the gym, you get tired of practice. I get it. And we had this game scheduled for a long time. And second of all, my team is now on its way to Florida, and they're playing like 5 games in 4 days or 5 days, and they're playing some teams from all over the country, and we needed to play games before we went down there. So as many games as we could. So we played 5 since March 12th, and usually I don't schedule them that early, but we needed to get prepared. So that's the reason. And I think all the parents and the players knew that was the reason. So it was okay. Usually you might catch some heat from that, but the administration knew, and they were cool with it. And though it was really cold out there, we did get some, situations in, and
A lot of teaching points, like you were saying earlier.
a lot of teaching points. And again, it's baseball in the Midwest, northern, central part of the country, and it's not going to be optimum weather. And then urban baseball in the middle of the city. The park, which was in pretty good shape, but usually these parks are not in good shape, and usually the park district doesn't let you on the field until April 1st. This particular park, and I'm going to name them McGuane Park, they're really baseball friendly, and they let us do whatever we want because they know we're going to take care of the field. So hats off to them.
Yeah. And, geez, yesterday's... good point, though, came up, which is worth mentioning when you told me that my first pitcher was moving pretty slow. And especially in a cold game, your defense is really going to fall asleep if, between pitches is like a drag.
Yeah, one of our runners said, "Can he pitch faster? It's not exactly summer out here." And he was pitching slow, and then when you pitch slow, as you know, the fielders fall asleep, and so they're not alert. When a guy gets assigned, he should get into a stretch position, hold the runner, go to plate. If they steal, they steal. But Ray Miller, the old Baltimore Orioles pitching coach, said, "Here's the absolutes of pitching," and one of them was pitch fast.
Yeah.
And the other one was throw strikes. Pitch fast, field your position, and throw strikes. So it's pretty good.
Yeah. I think also people don't understand the difference between pitching fast and rushing your motion.
Right.
So like
that's a huge point.
when I think about pitching fast, I think get the ball by the rubber, get on the rubber, take your side, come set, and go. But if you're in the windup, say, and you don't have a fast motion, Pitching fast doesn't mean speed up your motion.
No,
It means get the ball by the rubber, get on the rubber, get your sign, and deliver.
that's what it means.
And
right.
make your delivery. But don't catch the ball 10 feet in front of the mound. Take your time walking back. Take a breath behind the rubber. Step on the rubber.
Yeah.
Step off. Fix your shoe. Get on the rubber. Get the ball.
It's painful for
and then
everybody to
deliver.
watch that, and
Yep.
especially your teammates and your opponents. Get the ball, get your sign, and attack your target. And everybody will be alert. Everybody will know that you're a fast pitcher. And we're looking at a guy right here. Show the people who we're looking at. Mark Burley. There's the fastest pitchers, one of the fastest pitcher in baseball history. There was a lot of common under 2 hour games with commercials. Just think of, you're playing out here in a park, hour between an hour and a half, boom, done.
Mm-hmm.
And people were alert,
you have to be.
Yeah, hey, he was going to get the ball and throw it. I said, it's like, I know what I can do. My catcher knows what I can do. And when you have a pitcher and catcher knowing this, games go fast. And that's what we want. We want to, as high schoolers, hey, let's do anything under an hour and a half. And if worse, the game before we played Curie, and it was less than 2 hour game. So it was okay. I think they got a little bit of a rally in the 7th inning. It was 9-1, and I put in some players and they made a bunch of errors. But other than that, it was like close to an hour and a half game. So that's good.
Yeah. Here, I'll tell a story about that. My ace when I was in school was a fast pitcher like him. He, in the conference tournament, struck a guy out, and whoever watches probably wouldn't believe, but it was 10 seconds or less. That's how quick the at-bat was. The leadoff hitter from the other team to open the tournament tried to challenge our pitcher, and I saw one pitch, and I was in right field. I saw one pitch because he moved fast, and I've never seen him move that fast. I threw the grass in the air to check the wind. I looked back, it was 0-1. I didn't believe he threw a pitch, so I looked at the scoreboard. It said 0-1. I looked back, it was 0-2. I went like this. I said, all right, I got to get ready. It was strike 3. It was 10 seconds or less. It was the fastest at-bat that I've ever seen. But him and this guy are the two best examples I've ever seen of somebody who just gets the ball and goes.
Greg Mannix, too. It
was incredible.
Yeah, Greg Mannix not only threw fast, but when there's a runner on first, he didn't bother throwing over to first base. He held the ball, he threw it. Okay, yeah. He said, "Okay, this is interesting. If they want to steal, fine. I got a good catcher here." And I don't. Yeah. I think Javi Lopez was.
What was Greg Maddox's move like? Like, was he fast to the plate?
Yeah, he was fast to the plate, but
that's key too.
Yeah, he had lousy. He would throw over the first base just as a commercial.
Yeah,
and just
to let the runner know that you're there.
Yeah,
that
right.
You're thinking about.
And I think he had a personal catcher. I think it was Eduardo Perez, but he also had Javi Lopez. And these guys were veteran catchers, so they knew him pretty well. But especially his personal catcher, Perez. So those games went fast, And I don't remember too many other guys like Maddox and Burley. I'm sure that there were others. Maybe I'll have to look it up, but I'm thinking Whitey Ford was fast, an ex-pitcher with the Yankees, and I think he was pretty fast with it. Maybe because he threw a spitball and he didn't want anybody to know, so he kept on throwing it.
Yeah.
But there were some others, but those guys just stood out, and it's great. Hey, except for the vendors.
Umpires love it too.
Yeah. Except the vendors at the ballpark don't love it. Hey, the game's over. We still got plenty of beer left.
We still got 50 hot dogs left. We still got a keg of beer left.
That's right. Hell yes.
It reminds me too, while we're on the topic of pitching, there's one thing I realized about yesterday. It's just how important it is to keep on developing your pitchers. You don't want to let other areas of your team fall, but you need a pitching staff that can throw strikes. And by doing that, we talked about it before, is having a consistent delivery.
Yes, and let's go back to our game yesterday. In that brutal weather, basically, it was a well-played game. Mm-hmm. And after your pitcher struggled with control, but then your next two pitchers didn't. And our first pitcher, his hand had to be frozen. He threw 56 pitches, but he did a really good job. He walked 3. But again, in 20-degree wind chill, like Mike said, I think that's pretty good. He's blowing his hand. He said, "How's your hand?" He said, "I can't feel anything."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well,
once you lose touch in those fingertips."
And he has 4 pitches. And I asked, since I wasn't calling the game yesterday, I asked our catcher. I said, "What's he throwing?" He said, "He threw all fastballs, which you wanted, but I mixed in a couple of curveballs, but that was it. No cutters, no changeups." And he said the curveball, in that cold weather, just basically an off-speed pitch that's floated up there. I said, "Yeah," but and that you just try to blast the 4 quadrants and get out of there. And I thought your pitchers did a really nice job, and you didn't make your guys didn't make any errors.
Maybe 1, maybe 2. That's it.
Well, if they were, and that they were not errors right at you. They would have.
They were not. And it was nothing that was costly. I would say a lot of the runs would come from when we lost control of the strike zone.
Right, the first pitcher, right?
Yeah.
And again, tell the audience about how long that guy's pitched and what you've done with him.
I think in a live game that was his second time pitching.
There you go.
Once last year for maybe an inning, and then this year it was his 2 innings he pitched. So, yeah, I mean, just a consistent delivery is so key, and to do that, you got to keep on working with them. They got to throw pens. You have to break them apart and help them understand what they're doing wrong, so that when they're by themselves, they can make an adjustment on their own. You got to run them. You got to do core work, because there's some kids are just they lack the strength. They lack the leg stamina. I feel like the little lefty on my team, Isain, I feel like he gets tired fast.
He does, but
he needs more work. So what I did today, who pitched yesterday? Get on the line.
Yeah.
We start running him.
He's got to strengthen those legs, because pitching starts from the ground up.
Just like hitting.
That's right. And if you can get really strong legs, and I just remembered guys, the old time guys like Tom Seaver, he had these legs like this, and he was a drop and drive pitcher. But all those other guys, those shorter pitchers, they had huge legs, and everybody used their legs back then. A lot of drop and drive pitchers, and guys who just even if they're not drop and drive, they ran a lot. Jim Palmer, a brilliant pitcher, and they were talking about it on the radio today, on the White Sox broadcast, how brilliant Jim Palmer is in figuring out what pitchers do wrong and how to correct it. And he did it himself, so he was basically his own pitching coach.
Yeah.
After he learned it from various pitching coaches. So our point is this, that you really need to teach all the time. And the fact that you're teaching these guys is a point that should never be neglected, because every kid needs to be taught. And then they learn, and you watch the fruits of your labor. And it's great to watch these guys just, hey, I taught him that. And then his innate ability is coming through, and it's just really great to see. Just like with that third pitcher you were telling me about, inverted W, and he short arms a little bit, and he looked really good. And he had suffered because he was throwing wrong, and you corrected that. He had a little problem with his elbow too, and he was really impressive. The little kid was really impressive because he threw strikes. He just needs more strength, which you're going to work on by getting on the line. And the other kid, he's thrown twice. And as far as my kid who threw, this kid had a serious illness last year and did not play. And he's now a senior, and he's grown 6 inches. And I've known him since the 6th grade, and he's kind of like he's kind of not a serious kid. He's taken, he's taken all this stuff really well. His serious illness, his dad's seriously sick, and he just tries to crack jokes, and he's gone through therapy, and he's still going through therapy. And what he did yesterday and last week was fantastic. He's gone through 6 innings now without giving up a run, so it's good.
That's great.
Yeah, and he still wants to learn, and I've given him lessons since the 6th grade, and he came to our high school just because I was there. So I don't, even though we cut him last year because of his health, I asked him to stay on as manager. He thought it was he didn't want to do that because it was a blow to his pride. But he was sick.
Mm-hmm.
But I asked him personally to come back out this year.
Yeah.
And it's worked out perfectly.
So he's doing. I mean, obviously doing better now. But like he's good and great health, or what?
It's he's a lot better. I'm sure he's taking the right, he's on the right medicine now and the right therapy. But it's still it bothered him to the point where he has to be reassured by, mentally. He has to go to a psychologist. Yeah,
that's good. I'm glad he's doing all right.
Yeah, but he's working at it, and a couple colleges are now interested in him. So hopefully it works out.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, like, how heavily do you stress, pre and post like activity with your pitchers?
You mean like running?
Yeah, like running. Having a strong core, staying mobile, anything like that.
Yeah, it's well, I think when we're outside, I want them. The way I want them to warm up is always find a target, not just randomly throw, and from the stretch, and then alternate after your arm is warm, fastball and change. Changeup's hardest pitch to master from any level, high school, college, pro.
Yeah.
So, and commanded a fastball. They were talking today, Don Cooper, who, I've discussed in the past. I'm not a big fan of his, but they were asking the pitchers. They interviewed James Shields in a dugout. I said, "What's his favorite saying?" He says, "Moneyball." What's that mean? He said, "Throwing the ball glove side to a right-handed hitter, low and away on the outside corner." So it's like fastball outside corner to a righty, and that's what he loves. So, and that for me, that's another tough pitch to master in high school because everybody wants to drop their arm early. And
yeah, I noticed that.
Like today, why they were talking about it is Ronaldo Lopez, who started for the White Sox, he was missing everything up and in. And then they mentioned Jim Palmer, and Jim Palmer had two ways to correct that. Once, after you release it, try to put your chin on your left shoulder. And the other way to try to correct it is, after you release the ball, make the hitter see your number. And he says you can't do either one of them. But if you do that, you stay closed. And if you stay closed, you won't go up and in. You'll find your target. I said, great stuff.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, so, I learned that today. And I said, oh, that's good. I mean, because I have different ways of correcting it. But I said, that's pretty good. Because all of our guys, like against De La Salle, the team we lost to on Monday, I've been telling this second pitcher, our first pitcher was phenomenal. But he's been a 4-year starter for us. And he dominated this team. One hit through 5 innings, and it was in the last inning, a ground ball hit through the right side. And he struck out 7. If it was a month later, he would have thrown a shutout against these guys. But I bring in a sophomore kid, and he's had his elbow below his shoulder. Now, a lot of people like that motion. ChrisO'Leary.com. Chris O'Leary says there's nothing wrong with it, and you can control. You have more leverage with the ball, but on our level, and with this particular pitcher, he needs to get his elbow above the shoulder because he's here. The ball comes out. He doesn't get his fingers on top of the ball, and he pushes. I was gonna say he pushes at it.
He's gonna stay on one plane.
He stays. That's exactly what happened. He's really flat. Okay, and his curveball, unless he raises his arm, goes into the dirt. Now, the first guy up in the inning, and he had just faced a team last week which wasn't as good, and he got on top of the ball a little bit, so he was better, but he was missing inside. So he's missing everything arm side with the elbow below his shoulder, and plus he was flat. Okay, so against a poorer team, he got away with it. But here, the first guy up hit a ball that hit the bag, the first base bag, and it popped up right to our first baseman for 1 out. Then the next guy hits a double off the wall, which it's a short porch there. So he gets on second base, and we get a strikeout because he got his arm up 3 times in a row and threw 3 sliders or 3 breaking balls, whatever, slurve. And he threw 3 strikes, and they couldn't touch it. But then, he started dropping ball, and the ball leaked right into a hitting zone to a righty and flattened out to a lefty, and they got 2 more hits off and we ended up losing because.
Why do you think he started to flatten out?
Well, he's always done that because now he's been able to, on his level, he's been able to blow the ball by guys. So now he's still got the same velocity. As a matter of fact, he throws harder than the first guy we had.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have command nor the action on the ball. So he can't command the 4 quadrants plus the ball straight or flat. So because of this flaw. So now he has to get above here and be able to get his fingers on top of the ball all the time. And not only will it help him command the fastball, it'll put more action on it, plus he'll be able to get on top of his breaking ball.
Yeah.
But now he saw, and I talked to him after the game, says, now I know what you're talking about. But again, teaching moments, and kids, really, really good players, great players, all-stars, Hall of Famers, they want to be coached.
Yeah. And you know what? Once you start to teach them, they understand what they're doing wrong. There's nothing more rewarding than when they fuck up and then he says, I did this. And I say, you're absolutely right. But he recognized it.
Yeah.
But that means when we get in the game, he can recognize it.
Right.
And he
So
can correct
you don't have to keep on going out there and say, hey, you did this and this. Yeah, I know what I did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, being able to self-correct is unbelievably great.
Yeah.
That means
that's
a compliment to you as a coach.
Because then it's almost like it gets contagious too. Today,
It definitely gets
out
contagious.
of the corner of my eye, I saw Caesar helping someone with their hitting, like with something they were doing wrong with his legs, and he was absolutely right. And that's great because I can't see everywhere, and to have natural guys who are just they're kind of leading by example, but every now and then they chime in.
But they've heard it so many times from you that they're able to help. When you're busy, they're able to help other kids.
Exactly.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's really great.
That's why that's why coaching too is so rewarding because if you're patient, and you're persistent, you do see results.
Yes. Absolutely.
I think a big issue with where I coach is nobody cared about results or being patient or seeing anything through. It was more just like show up, roll the balls out. He's failing. He can't play. He's failing. Okay, they're showing up.
I love your left fielder. You said
balls.
the kid's a great athlete, but never played baseball before.
Yeah.
It's his second time out here on the field, and yet you saw the fact that he's a great athlete. That's the difference between rolling the ball out and developing players.
Exactly.
And,
yeah. Showing up to get your stipend, or are you showing up to coach baseball?
Well, as long as you say that. Now, on our staff, and you have to be able to self-scout your staff or analyze. We have guys that are facilitators that will develop players and be able to coach them in games, but don't either bother, know, or want to develop players. Mm-hmm. Now, I think one of my strong points is teaching, developing. Okay, and so I know what it takes I've seen successful high school players, college players, and I try to take everybody's talent and rather than just put them all in a cookie cutter thing. Everybody's different. Okay, you have this asset, so I try to work with them to get the most out of them. We have one other guy on staff that's like that. That's Jenkins. He likes to develop players, especially outfielders, and I think he does a real good job at it. The other guys on our staff, they would just rather be at games. Okay, and one guy, he follows what I want. He runs a great practice, but he doesn't know how to correct things the way he should. And the other guy's pretty young. And then we have the third guy, one of your ex-teammates, who's a terrific prospect. He does everything. And now he's handling some fundraising parts for us. And he's a terrific prospect. He's never going to coach because he's a brilliant kid. He's going to make a ton of money somewhere. But right now he wants a coach. And he's picked up everything like really fast. Listens to everybody, but especially to myself and Jenkins, because he wants to learn how to teach he took a guy out of McGuane after our game against D and was out there until 8 o'clock because the kid wanted extra hitting.
Mm-hmm.
And he took from what we talked about what I wanted him to work on because I had an emergency problem, so I couldn't go out there. So he went out there, and he was out there with that kid for like almost an hour after the game because the kid wanted to work, and he knew what the flaws were because he heard it for 4 years of playing. So I think just like your point with your players taking care of you while you're with somebody else, this is a kid who played for me for 4 years and has been coaching for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And he remembered everything because he's brilliant.
He's incredibly smart.
Yeah, and plus he's a terrific coach already. And if he ever decided to be serious about it, he'd be a terrific head of a program. He's just a wonderful kid.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, moving on.
Okay.
So we talked a lot of pitching and obviously just coaching in general, but what about hitting? Especially like yesterday, hitting in the cold. What do you think about it?
Brutal.
Yeah, sucks, right?
Yeah.
And
remember the old days where you don't remember it, but we had to hit with wood back in really. And if you had your grip the wrong way, and kids that are listening to this or will eventually listen to this don't understand. If you had the wrong grip and they stuck in your palm, your hands would have so much of a burr and a burn, and you wouldn't be able to. They would become numb. You had to have the right grip, so it's
even
in your
with
fingers.
the right grip sometimes.
Yeah, but it was a lot less.
Yeah.
But it was brutal. You would have numb hands, and you go out to the field, and you're trying to catch the ball and throw it with numb hands.
Yeah.
And hurting hands. So that was a different era. This, even with the aluminum bats, I'm sure you get some, buzz to your hands.
Here and there.
But not as bad.
And just to touch on
But
you're frozen. You are freezing.
Some of those kids that swung the bat yesterday, and I'll give credit to both our teams. They were healthy swings.
Yeah.
And they didn't really complain too much when there was only a couple kids that were going like this.
Yeah.
And I have to say a couple kids they're soft anyway. Mm-hmm. But I almost thought, I said, well, a lot of you, after our post game talk, I said, people think you guys are soft, but nobody else is playing in the city, but us two teams and another couple teams. That's it. So you guys aren't soft. This is rough weather. It's rough swinging in this weather, like you said. Yeah. It's terrible.
And that's just like, ideally, I would love for my players to be dripping sweat before they throw or hit or run or do anything, right? So in situations like this, you need to work extra hard to be warm. Because imagine going up, just all your muscles stiff frozen, and you're trying to swing a bat. I saw so many late swings yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure it was cold, but I'm sure it was a timing issue. But also, you need to be moving the whole time.
I know, but a couple of those kids just didn't want to make contact because they knew it was going to hurt, so they swung late. They said, oh, it's a strike, I better swing, but now it's already by them.
Yeah.
And that really helped, why Midwestern players and, cold weather city players don't get developed as well as California kids or Texas kids or whatever is because the weather's crappy. Yeah. And they're down there in Arizona, Florida. They're playing in great weather, and they're getting a lot of chances to swing, and they're getting better day by day because they got great weather. And we're stuck in gyms or 35 to 45 degree weather. It's, I root for Midwestern kids because we don't have it like them.
Yeah.
They got it easy. As well as baseball can be easy.
Resources, baby, the weather.
Yeah, the weather. That's their
biggest resource of all.
Absolutely.
And getting on a field and taking some live BP too. Thinking about that, like sometimes you think even a coach, like a kid, when they're hitting line drives in the cage, when you can't really see where they're going, you're not sure.
Right.
All the time, the outcome or if they're.
You can think, but you really don't know.
Exactly. So you can see your ball travel a little bit.
And meanwhile, all these kids, in great weather, hey, I just hit a home run because there really is a fence, and we're really in 75 degree weather, so I can see in batting practice that I just hit a home run.
I did something right. Remember that swing.
But we're not in a cage where we guess it might be a home run or it might be a double because it's in a cage, and
And now sometimes you're blessed with a really large cage. You hit a line drive to the very back of it. We know where that ball's headed. But, when it's to the left and the right, you don't know, no matter what cage you're in.
Yeah. So, California, any warm weather city, you guys got it. You guys got it, Maine.
Yeah. Be blessed.
Yes.
For that.
Yeah. Count your blessings.
This is what I'm going to sign off with.
Okay.
Because this is something that's been eating me away since
All right.
before yesterday's game.
All right.
Just about,
Talk away,
just
baby.
pitchers. Just pitchers, you got to work your ass off, man. It's so much more than any other position. Pitchers and catchers.
It's so specialized.
You got to work your ass off.
And
There's so much that goes into it, mentally, physically.
And anybody who's can teach pitching and teach it the right way is way ahead of the game. There's so many people that don't know about pitching. And again, we heard something on the score last week saying, why does it never do pitch from the line windup? Because what does a windup mean to you? It doesn't add velocity. It's only been proven 0.0001 more velocity. It's about deception.
Mm-hmm.
It's about destroying timing. It's about hiding the baseball.
Everybody makes everything about velocity.
Right, but it's not. It's about hiding the baseball, deception. Destroying timing. And when you have a guy who throws from the throws from the stretch, and you got him timed out, eventually you're gonna kill him. I don't care what level it is. So those guys don't know what they're talking about, and pitching is such a specialized skill to teach. And what I watched you yesterday, I'm just really proud of what you're doing. I just work with my pitchers and to a lesser extent the catchers because they're kind of they kind of have to coexist. Yeah. But I just see all of our guys go out there and throw strikes, and that's something that I didn't do as a pitcher, and I never got the proper instruction because none of my coaches knew anything about pitching. Mm-hmm. I just did everything through ability, and it had hurt me when I got older. So I'm trying to do what I didn't get as a player.
It's great. That's what every coach should be trying to do. Yeah, always be better. I feel like, the goal is to always be better. Like, be thankful for what you got and always be better.
Think if you have a child, which you're going to, and I know he's going to be a pitcher, and you're way ahead of the game because you don't need to ship him out and say, hey, let's go get $100 an hour lesson. No, you already know it. Mm-hmm. And you've been in the profession, you've been a player on two different levels, and the kid's way ahead of the game. Probably you'll make him a lefty too, which is gold.
If he wants to be.
Yes.
If he even wants to play baseball.
He might want to play football because that's
right.
what you are
if he's
too.
Dumb enough.
We don't want scrambled head.
Yeah, right. All right, signing off.
That was a good episode, so it might be cut into 3 pieces because we've been going for a really long time. Until 31, Dave and Joe thanking you, and we'll see you next time.